Hang Gliding Flight School is a free educational resource created to share the fun and adventure of flying by encouraging, teaching, and inspiring aviators of all ages. Aviation videos provide a supplement, never a replacement, for face-to-face, in-person training with qualified teachers. Visit www.hangglidingflightschool.com for a map of nearly 40 flight instructors in the USA.
Good day, aviators, and welcome to another episode of Hang Gliding Flight School. My name is Eric, and this episode of Hang Gliding Flight School is going to be a spotlight tour showcasing Windsports, a hang gliding flight school here in Southern California. If you have ever dreamed of flying and soaring through the sky, Windsports can make that dream your reality. Windsports actually has two different training facilities. They have beginner training hills here at the beach and a more advanced launch up in the mountains. Now, you can't train to be a pilot if you don't know where the school is located. So, the first step is to show you a map of exactly how to get here.
First, let's show you the beach facility. So, the easiest way to find any hang gliding school is to come to hangglidingflightschool.com and click to this map to hang gliding instructors, and that will bring up a map of instructors and schools all around the world. Now, Windsports beach location is in Los Angeles, so you can zoom in on the map to Los Angeles, or alternatively, another way that you could find Windsports is if you were zoomed out on the map and you came over here to the USA hang gliding schools and you just expanded this list and you scroll all the way down, they're in alphabetical order, and you click on Windsports, that will instantly zoom you in to Windsports and highlight the icon as well. So if we zoom in here, we can see that it is located just south of Los Angeles International Airport, and we can see we've got the 105 right here running east to west, and we have the 405 running north to south. So at some point you'll probably be on one of those highways. If we look at the street view, like I say, at some point you're probably going to be at this intersection of the Imperial Highway and Vista Del Mar. And you can see right here it actually says Dockweiler State Beach. You do not want to go into this entrance, okay, because yes, it's at Dockweiler, but it's actually quite a bit further south, so you want to head down this way. And this is the intersection that you're looking for right here. So you want to come into this entrance, and you can see right here the street sign says Youth Center Way, right? So this is where you want to come in. Now during the summer months, this booth is got a a person working the booth so you can pay the parking fee. When it's not summertime, you have to pay at the kiosks. Like there's one right here, there's a little metal kiosk, and you can pay with a credit card at one of those kiosks. Now when you first pull in the parking lot, you see this building here in the distance with these two towers. This is the nearest bathroom. Okay, so if you need to use the bathroom before you take your hang gliding lessons, you're going to want to go over that way. But the actual hang gliding lessons are to the left, and you drive all the way down to the end of this parking lot. Here I'll show you the actual drive into the parking lot. I think it's always kind of helpful to actually see, what the route looks like. So that way, for people who are unfamiliar with it, you kind of know, a little bit what to expect. Like, for example, right here, I don't usually drive down this straight part of the parking lot just because you can see a lot of speed bumps there. So I'll kind of jog over to the left a little bit and then kind of cruise down to the end. And if you look along the right-hand side of the screen, you see that along the bike path there's this fence that's kind of setting the parking lot off from the bike path. So you go through this little break in the fence here in order to get to the hang gliding spot. Although the prevailing winds come from due west, there are occasional variations in direction. The gentle curvature of the sand dunes allows new pilots to safely launch and land at slightly different angles, depending upon the direction of the wind. One of the most common misconceptions about hang gliding is that you need a lot of wind to fly. This is not true at all. Pilots with weak skills need a lot of wind, but a skilled pilot can launch and fly and land when there's no wind at all. An 8-mile-per-hour headwind makes it far easier to launch and land, but a good pilot can still get airborne if the air is motionless. One of the great things about Dockweiler is that the beach averages 6 miles per hour to 12 mile per hour winds nearly every single day of the year, making it a great place to train. Now, once you arrive at the beach, you will be welcomed by your instructor and sign the basic paperwork and waivers. And what happens next really depends on what you are trying to accomplish. If you're just a tourist looking for a one-day experience, well, when you arrive, the glider will already be set up and ready to go. The instructor will take a brief flight down the training hill so you can see what a proper flight looks like. Now, if you've booked a series of lessons because you truly want to become a pilot and pursue this sport for years to come, the glider will not be set up when you arrive, and your first steps will be learning how to assemble the aircraft. Every make and model of hang glider has their own subtle nuances and differences, but a majority of the process is the same on all hang gliders. Now, once it is your turn to pilot the aircraft, you'll be fitted with a harness and helmet and taught the basics of handling the glider. And during this process, you'll be flanked by instructors who are explaining how to control and maneuver the aircraft. As a new student, the make and model of glider you will be flying is called a Condor, made by Wing, which is an enormous oversized glider, making it extremely easy for you to get airborne with minimal effort. And once you gain more experience, you can try out other models and sizes of gliders and get a better feel for the type of glider you will want to buy someday. Your very first flight will only be a few feet off the ground, and you will have an instructor holding on to the aircraft the entire time, giving you direction. And typically, you repeat these low flights 2 or 3 times, and once you're feeling comfortable and showing good control of the hang glider, your instructor will let go, and you will get to fly all on your own. Now, if you're a tourist doing this for the experience, your instructor will carry the glider back up the hill for you. If you plan to become a pilot and buy your own hang glider, your instructor will still carry the glider if you want to wimp out, but you really should do it yourself. After all, learning how to carry and maneuver your glider is obviously an essential skill for every pilot to have. On average, you'll probably get about 10 to 12 flights per day, and you might need about 5 to 8 days of training before you head to the mountains. And that just about covers all the basics of training at the beach. As you can see, it's a very safe and simple process on gentle slopes. The moment that most students see the beach in person, all their nervousness disappears. The hillside is so mellow, it instills a lot of confidence, and you quickly realize flying here is something you can easily accomplish. And you will also be a part of authentic hang gliding history, as these dunes are regarded as one of the first places hang gliders were flown in America. Even after you become an experienced mountain pilot,
it's always wise to return to training hills like these, so you can reinforce and sustain competent launching and landing skills with some repetitive flights. And speaking of mountain flights, let's show you what those are like.
Now let's show you how to get to the mountain location for Windsports. So again, you would come to the Hang Gliding Flight School website. You click on the main map, which brings up the map to everywhere. And if we zoom in, we can see that there's this marker right here, sort of in the northern part of the valley in Los Angeles. And that is the Sylmar Flight Club. So if we look at this USA Hang Gliding Clubs and we expand the list, and again we scroll down here, and we can see this Sylmar Hang Gliding Association. If we click on that, it highlights the Sylmar Hang Gliding Association. So like I say, this is up in the kind of northeastern corner of Sylmar, and eventually you're going to want to get to this kind of intersection right in here. There's Gridley Street and Tibbet Street. So it's just a residential kind of street. You can see we've got houses here on one side of the street, right? And then the other side of the street where the flight park is at, you just kind of got all these trees. So you have to come down to the end of the street where it looks like a dead end right here. But then when you make a right-hand turn, you can see right here it says Sylmar Hang Gliding Association. So you pull into this parking lot, and right here is the landing zone, and you can park up in here. And from here you'll take a ride up to the top of the mountain so you can do your tandem flights or your first mountain flight.
As you pull up to the Sylmar parking lot, you can see the landing area and a nice pavilion where spectators can watch flights arriving in the airfield. It's a pleasant environment to pack up your hang glider, talk with fellow pilots, and grab some lunch after your flight. Now, the great thing about landing a tandem glider at the Sylmar airfield is that you come in on the wheels on smooth grass, so it's incredibly easy to touch down and roll to an easy stop. But, of course, a safe landing is the final step of your flight. Let's talk about how everything gets started. So the first step to your mountain flight, the instructors will be loading the aircraft onto a vehicle to drive up to the launch site. And then after everyone is loaded up in the truck and ready to go, you will drive up to Sylmar Peak.
This is the other Windsports facility in Sylmar, California. This is where Windsports does tandem flights for both students and tourists. After you build up your skills at the beach, this is where you will come to do your first tandem in the San Gabriel Mountains.
When you arrive atop the mountain, the aircraft are unloaded and assembled by the instructors. After a careful pre-flight check to confirm the airframe, cabling, bolts, and sail are all safe to fly, the student will be fitted with a harness and explain the basic launch guidelines. While your instructor will be in control of the aircraft during launch and landing, you will be allowed to take control during the flight and pilot the hang glider. Now, I have always recommended new pilots take tandem flights before they do anything else. That way, they understand what they are getting into before investing too much time and money into the sport. However, other pilots suggest you take your first flights on a training hill so you aren't overwhelmed by the sensory overload of the mountains. Mountain launches are quite intense experiences. Instead of running alongside the teacher, students have been known to jump on the back of the instructor simply because they panic. I always tell new pilots, human beings have a primal instinct in us which tells us to not run off of a cliff, right? So no matter how excited and enthused you are, at some point that fear will hit you. I warned this young girl about that before her first flight, and for one brief moment she turned and looked at me and I could see it in her face.
I was remembering your laugh. Everyone freaks out right now.
She quickly overcame that fear, and had a wonderful flight and a joyful experience. But even the bravest of souls will have that 3 seconds of your primal brain asking, what the heck are you doing here? So don't worry, that fear is totally normal. So if you feel some apprehension the first time you're standing on launch, don't freak out, right? That doesn't mean something bad is going to happen. That doesn't mean that you aren't meant to be a pilot. It just means you are a human being in touch with your natural instincts. Relax, trust the aircraft, trust the physics. You're going to fly. Everything will be fine, and when you safely land, you will have just had one of the most beautiful experiences of your life. But you don't need to take my word for it.
Let's take a moment to hear from a few of the students and instructors here at Windsports to get their perspective on training here at the beach.
Hello, I'm Yuri Wong, and I'm here at Windsports taking some lessons. Well, as a kid, I've always wanted to fly. Then my daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, wanted to fly, and we got her a lesson here. And she loved it, and she kept coming back to do more lessons. And now I'm here and doing lessons myself to join her. Well, so at first I was a little bit nervous about my daughter, 14-year-old, taking some flying lessons with these hang gliders. But now that I've done it myself, this is awesome. This is amazing and totally feels safe. It's such a joy when you're up there and it's so quiet. I can see why my daughter loves it, and I'm in love with it myself. It's a pretty cool sport. Both my daughter and I are going to do the full-on courses.
Good afternoon. My name's Joe Greblo. I'm one of the founders of Hang Gliding School that was called Southern California School of Hang Gliding, but later changed its name to Windsports Hang Gliding, and still in business today. I started flying back in the early 70s on something other than bamboo, so it was a little bit progressed. And saw somebody out in the field flying, and he almost landed on my head, and I thought that guy must be James Bond, so I had to do it, even though I thought I couldn't, and lo and behold, I could. So that got me interested, and I stopped being interested in some of my other hobbies like snow skiing and dirt bikes and other adventurous things, and started hang gliding and grew to love it so much, I'd never stopped. So at 73 years old, I'm still hang gliding wildly and having a ball. Windsports is now run by some really competent people, Andy Beem and his staff, and they operate annually most days of the year. Been around a long time and carry on a great legacy.
My name is Marley. I started doing hang gliding for really no reason. I just wanted to do it one day, and I'm so glad I did. It's so fun and it's an amazing experience. And Windsports is an amazing way to start. Windsports is pretty small, but that's a good thing because you can really form a great bond with all the instructors, and they're all really helpful and encourage me to keep going and get where I am today in hang gliding.
Hello everyone, my name is Andy Beem. I own Windsports Hang Gliding School here in Southern California. Windsports has been in business since 1974, and we're Southern California's largest hang gliding school. And today we're doing lessons out at Sylmar at Cagle Mountain in the background. So when you want to sign up for a lesson at Windsports Hang Gliding School, you can go right to our website at www.windsports.com and sign up right there online. When you sign up for the lesson, you'll meet us out at our flying site down at Dockweiler Beach, where we'll usually do a group lesson of as many as 5, maybe 6 students per class. And what we focus on is takeoff, short flights, and landings, and working on the basic fundamentals of how to launch and land the hang glider. And that's really where the danger is. most of the time we don't have trouble while we're in the air flying. It's usually during a takeoff or during the landing. So we focus most of our training on those disciplines. But we also supplement those takeoff and landing skills with flying with an instructor off of the mountain, where we can teach you all the things we can't teach you on a 30-foot hill, such as doing stalls and recoveries, doing 360-degree turns, catching rising air columns of thermal updrafts. So things of that nature we'll use for the tandem program, and then we use the beach for most of the low altitude takeoff and landing training. When a student signs up for a lesson, say for a tandem lesson, we meet here at the Sylmar Flight Park at the bottom of our mountain that we fly, and then we load up onto a shuttle vehicle and we drive about 45 minutes to get to the top of the mountain, and that's where we assemble the gliders and go through all of our safety checks in preparation for the actual flight. Prior to your flight with the instructor, you'll go through a checklist. You'll actually have to become a student pilot. We are not allowed to give rides on hang gliders. We're only allowed to give flight lessons. So the glider is designed for tandem flights, and we operate through the United States Hang Gliding and Paragliding Association as our national governing body, and we do have to maintain some rules and regulations with the FAA as well. But when we do the actual flight, we usually fly from the top of a 3,500-foot mountain. We usually fly for anywhere from maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes or longer, trying to find rising air currents to try to extend the length of the flight. And at some point when it's time to land, we come landing right on this little grassy runway right over to the side there. Part of the reason I'm a hang glider pilot for 40 years is I remember the first time I tried it, it felt like I'd already done it before. And what I noticed is that when I sleep at night, I can fly in my dreams. Well, the first time I flew in a hang glider, it was almost that same sensation. It kind of blew me away how cool it was. And so, yeah, from the very beginning, I've loved hang gliding. And kind of another sensation that I get when I fly a hang glider is it feels as if I have a wing coming out of my back. It feels that connected and bird-like, and that's one of the neatest sensations you can experience on this planet. So that's I'm still trying to find something better than hang gliding, just haven't found it yet.
Here is a summary of all the information you need to contact the school and set up your flight lessons. And be sure to reach out to the school to learn about their current tuition prices and to schedule class times. Now, in general, how much do lessons and hang gliders cost? Well, when it comes to costs and prices, hang gliding equipment is a fantastic bargain, comparable to high-end mountain bike and high-end mountain biking gear, or let's say an affordable motorcycle. And when I say affordable, I'm not talking about $20,000 motorcycles. I'm talking about motorcycles like mine. I bought my motorcycle brand new back in 2004 for $5,200.
You know, it always amazes me to think that my hang gliders actually cost less than my motorcycle. I mean, motorcycling is awesome. It's a lot of fun, but it's not nearly as cool as flying through the air like Superman. You know, a commercial truck driver's license and the classes that you take to earn that license cost about just as much as getting a hang glider license. So, if you can afford a truck driver's license and a decent motorcycle, you can afford to become a hang glider pilot. And it's pretty amazing to think that there's a form of aviation which is that affordable. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Hang Gliding Flight School. If you happen to be a hang gliding instructor, I encourage you to make a video like this about your own flight school, so potential students will have all the information they require to attend your classes. Share all of your contact information. Be sure to include a map to your flying sites. Post it on multiple social media platforms. Showcase the joy of flight and emphasize how safe and easy those first flights will be. And if you want to find a flight school near you, Be sure to check the Hang Gliding Flight School website for a map of instructors who will help you to become a hang glider pilot. And remember, my friends, in the words of Ray Bradbury, you've got to jump off cliffs all the time and build your wings on the way down.